Welcome back to Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast, where we told you we're going to keep sharing life experiences. We have another amazing guest, Mr. Robert. They call you Bishop. Is that what we're going by?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Bishop up in the house. We want to thank you for being a guest on Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast. If you can come up and introduce yourself, and then City State is going to kick off that first question.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Robert Head. First and foremost, thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. It's a blessing to be here to be able to share my story and to have this opportunity. I'm from Washington, D.C., grew up in Washington, D.C., also in PG County. I'm the oldest of three siblings. Had a great childhood. Just want to just ready to just share my story though.
Well, thank you again for being here with us, Robert. As we always do, we like to start off at the beginning of everyone's journey. So tell us a little bit more detail about how you grew up, your siblings, your relationships with your parents, your friends, and if anything that we'll be discussing today, has started at that point in time, or if you experienced any hardship or trauma at that time in your life.
Yes. So, as I said, I was born in D.C., grew up in D.C. early in my childhood, Northeast Washington. My mother and my father are from the same neighborhood. They've been together since they were teenagers. But my childhood we was living in the hood. But I had a great childhood also growing up. Had grandmothers, my cousins. We all lived in the same neighborhood growing up. And at an early age, my father went to prison while I was young, probably around about 4 to 5 years old. And so it was just me and my mother during that time. Growing up, I was a basketball star. So as a kid, that was what I gravitated to, was playing basketball. That was my passion. But yeah, so me and my mother was basically, I just grew up with her. So my father was in prison. So I didn't have a father at that moment in that time.
Okay. I want to ask, how did it impact you at a young age not having that?
As I look on it now, I see that it really impacted me. Just visiting the prison, going into the prison in Lorton, and visiting my father. As a child, you don't really understand that at 5, 6 years old. You really don't understand why your father is not in your life at the moment. So just growing up, I would say I gravitated more to the streets as I was growing up because of the things that I seen, the people I was around. So I just didn't really understand it. You know what I mean? I just didn't understand. So I would ask my mother, like, where's my father at? The typical thing that they say. They say, well, your father's in school, or, you know what I mean? So they wouldn't really explain the place. So it just left a sense of just emptiness there.
Absolutely. I think it's crazy. I think in DC, Maryland, Virginia, everybody got that Lorton experience. you just there. You ain't really know why you there. Mm-hmm. A lot of our people was there, so I completely understand. Now, with that being said, um, you did say you were the oldest of siblings. I don't know how many, but who would you say um, was affected most by, your father being away? And did you feel any pressure, to be a replacement or feel like you were adulterized in any way, or that you couldn't enjoy your childhood being the oldest?
So I had two younger sisters. Um, I'm 6 years older than my closest sister, and then my youngest sister, I'm 9 years older than her. I'm glad you said that because I was just talking to someone the other day. We was latchkey kids. Like we was able to come home, and um, I definitely had to really step up and really watch out for my sisters, pick my sisters up from school, and all these different things. So I was their babysitter. And so I definitely had to really grow up fast, though. So I can remember picking my sisters up from school. But my sisters were young while my father was in prison. So my baby sister, she was really a baby. She really don't really remember that. Both of them, because I'm 6 years old. So when my father got out, I think I was probably about 11 or 12. So my younger sister was 6, and then my other sister was like 3. So they really didn't. They really experienced that. But I definitely had to really grow up fast, though. You know what I mean? So really stepping in there and taking care of my family and watching out for my sisters growing up.
And when you say stepping in and babysitting, stepping in as a father figure, so what roles did that play? You being a younger male stepping into having to be that figure for your sisters.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I was just telling my sister just recently. I told her, I said, "Yeah, I used to change your pamper." She was like, "No, I know you didn't." So my mother was like, "Yes, he did. He had to change your pamper." And it was just kind of like normal, picking them up from school, dropping them, taking them to school, walking them, making sure they get home. Um, if I needed to fix some food or warm some food up, you know what I mean? So, because my mother was at work, you know what I mean? So, just stepping in and taking them to the park, just making sure they're safe, though. Um, you know what I mean? So, that was the thing that I had to do dealing with my sisters every day.
And did you find that these sets of responsibilities was affecting your passion with basketball, or just kind of being the age that you were supposed to be? Did you have to cut back on basketball or feel like you didn't excel as far as you would have otherwise?
Um, I would say no. It was just kind of normal. What I mean? I excelled in basketball. I traveled all over the country. I played AAU all over United States. Won championships. Um, what I mean? So I was real prominent in basketball. I was really dedicated to playing basketball. But it was just really my responsibility. You know, it was just normal. It was just normal to have that role. And when you're young, you don't really look at it as you stepping up or being that father figure in their life during that time because you really don't really understand all the dynamics of it. So I didn't really even look at it that way. I was just being a kid, you know what I mean? So, but it was just normal for me to just look out for my sisters, cleaning up, just making sure the house is good and just helping my mother in the best way that I can.
I want to ask, um, how did gravitating to the streets and being a basketball player, how did you mix the two, and how did that work?
That was a great question. It was always my passion, but when I went outside, I seen hustlers. I seen um, plus where I play basketball at is everybody's at the park. Nowadays the kids don't grow out. They don't go out. When I was growing up, we stayed outside. That's where we basically lived at. So when I went outside of my door, um, I seen all the hustlers. I seen you know fast cars, nice cars, a lot of money. Um, and then because I could play basketball, I started playing in the tournaments, and street ball was real big then. So I started making money playing basketball. But the things that I seen in my environment, and just hanging with older men, me playing basketball, I was already 10 years old playing with grown men on the court. And so just having that influence, I wanted to do what they were doing, but also wanted to have what they had. So I had a mixture. I still played basketball. I still went to practice. I still was training and still traveling to Florida and New York and Philly. As I did this as a child though, and but that influence, it was a mixture, and that was the problem, having that mixture instead of just playing sports, because that was my whole dream, was going to the NBA. I had letters from colleges and all types of things, but just having that mixture is what really caused that problem later on in life.
Do you feel as though the choices of the streets affected your chances at being a professional basketball player?
Yes, yes, yes. I tell a lot of the youth right now, I said, man, just focus on, your sports or the things that you want to do. Because I really started selling drugs when I was probably, um, I would say sixth grade going into seventh grade, when I really started to sell drugs, where I started to learn and bought my first ounce, and I started to bag it up, and I seen how easy it was, and then I really just started that. You know what I mean? So um, it definitely affected my grades, because I'm smoking weed, but I'm playing basketball and skipping class, and I'm just really chasing the money. You know what I mean? But I want to do this, but I'm still chasing the money, and I do believe that it did affect my opportunity to go to the NBA.
Sid is having some issues, so I'm gonna keep talking until she gets back in.
Okay, yeah.
Um, I want to ask, even being in the streets and gravitating towards the streets, none of those older men told you to focus on basketball or chase your career?
Um, yeah, I've had people say that, but it was just like, the culture is just normal though. I've met many men that had talents and had gifts, but they was dibbling dabbling. So it was kind of like really normal. Now my coaches would tell me that as well, but when I was not with my coaches, I was out in the street. So I kept those things separate though. What I did with my coaches was something else. And my coaches, they drilled on those different things, stay out the streets, continue to go to school, get good grades. But I wanted to do both of them, So that was, I did have that influence as well, um, but I didn't always listen to it.
All right, so I don't know where we dropped off. I apologize. And in what ways did you really see the absence of your father kind of seeping in through your life, or in what ways did you feel slighted, or just like as if you were missing a piece?
Um, I mean, I could say, yeah, when he was gone, you go into your games, you didn't have your father there, you would see other people that had their fathers there as well. And so at that time, I didn't think about it as a slight because it was never really explained to me, what happened, why he wasn't there. And that's one thing that, a lot of families grow up with, you know, children is it's not explained to us. It's not we're not told anything, we're more told lies about what is going on instead of telling us the truth. So we really don't have I wasn't really bitter or anything about it. And I want to say, even when he came back, he was always there for me once he returned. But between that time, I spent a lot of time um, just hanging with other older men and learning some things that I shouldn't have been learning.
Do you feel as though if your father never went to prison that you would have made different decisions and choices?
Um, that was a good question. Um, I never really even thought about it in that way. Um, Most likely, probably, yes, yes, man. Because the father is very important, the influence. Uh, so I probably would have made different choices because I probably wouldn't even learned a lot of those things or had that guidance early uh, in my life. Yes, man.
Um, what was I had lost my question. Let's see. Oh, when did your father get released? At what point in your life, and how was that? Dynamic. Was there still, like a level of respect, or have you grown to a point where you weren't looking for guidance in that nature? Like, where the head button, like what was it? Once he was released and you guys were able to try to form a relationship.
Great question. Once he was released, it was really like we always had this connection, So even to the day, I was just talking to him a few days ago, and we always had a close connection. I can say once he got out, he hit the ground running, and he was always there for me. Attended all my basketball games, helped me, in just all the different areas of my life. You know what I mean? And so it was never no head butting. Um, it was never no beefing. I was not bitter about it. I never been that type of person that really like harbor a lot of things. I was just glad that my father was back. You know what I mean? So um, I didn't have to travel to go to the prisons or travel out of state to go see him. And so it was I felt great about it. I felt great that he was back, and you know, we just continue just to start moving forward.
So with your dad being back, you're in the streets and you have other male influencers. Why didn't your dad influence overpower the men in the streets influence?
Well, I can say I think I was probably going on as a teenager. Um, my father was working and doing what he needed to do. Um, he always also told me everything that I needed to do. Rather, he's always sit me down to speak to me about. Constantly, he would speak to me because he didn't want me to go down the same path that he went down, and I would listen to a certain degree, um, but I was already really accustomed to being out, hanging out. You know what I mean? So I was really already had a taste of it already. You know what I mean? So, and I still was playing basketball. I still was going to school, still getting good grades, and but I still had that influence. So I was already in the mix. That was already really ingrained in me, and but my father didn't promote it because he had already lived that life. So I can say that he will always sit me down, um, and really speak to me about it. But I had that mixture going on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Um, so what was the next step for you? What was the next kind of play in life? What did you, if you felt motivated after your father was released? What was that? Maybe after you felt like you could kind of shake some of that responsibility you had in your family, or able to kind of move away from your family and do your own thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't had a. I mean, I still always looked out for my sisters, regardless, because your parents are still at work. When I was growing up, I still had that some of that responsibility. But as you are more maturing as a young man, you developing your own sense of independence, and so I still was playing basketball because that was my passion. I trained even harder. Um, and I was really just moving towards it, but it was always me still you know in the streets, and then it just more increased. Now I'm trying to make more money. Now we're not fighting. Now I'm carrying guns now. So, but I'm still playing basketball, but I got both of these things going on at the same time. You know, and I would say my father, he knew. My parents knew. They recognized your patterns, but what I did outside the house stayed outside the house. When I come to the house, I'm operate differently than I'm in out in the streets. So because growing up I had respect. You kept that away from your grandmothers and your parents and your aunts. You kept that side out here. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say I didn't have the same responsibilities, but now I had more the responsibility of leading and guiding myself as I was going forward as well.
I want to ask really quick before we move on out of your childhood. Growing up in the street, um, what are some of the things that you experienced and seen as a child that you probably should have never seen as a child?
Oh man. Um That was a great question. I just had this training all week, and it was really about strengthening families, and we was talking about that the things that we were exposed to as a child. Um, I was exposed to all types of violence. Um, had been in violence a lot. You know what I mean? Growing up, rubber fighting, um, just constant. You know what I mean? Violence was very prevalent in my community. Um, Sexual exposure. Um, I've experienced that as well. Rather, I went to camps. You had women who were just kissing on me or kiss you in the mouth. You know what I mean? So um, I've seen death. I've experienced shootings in front of me. Um, it was just normal. You know what I mean? So I experienced a lot of things that I shouldn't have seen as well growing up. And I look back on it as I matured as a man. I look back and say, this wasn't right. I shouldn't have been exposed to, drug dealing and learning how to bag this up and learning how to, shoot these guns or um, rather pornography, or I shouldn't have been exposed to these things at an early age.
Okay, still having some issues. I'm gonna keep going.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask, did your coaches know that you were hanging in the streets? Because sometimes they're tipped off or they see certain behaviors. Did your coaches see any change in you? And if they did they try to create an intervention or intervene?
Um, I wouldn't say that because we even lived in different places. I wouldn't say that they had a real handle on it, um, because, like I said, we live in the same area, but I live on this side of town. Um, but we didn't. If anything I was doing, I didn't bring that around my coaches. You know what I mean? But they would always talk to us um, about being in the streets and doing things that's out of order, though. So, so they definitely were great role models in that respect. She back in
Now,
this.
what? I, yes, I'm back. What would you say was, your mom's kind of general um, feeling, maybe, or how was she handling things with you being in the streets, or maybe going down the wrong road? Was she able to be as involved as she needed to be? Sometimes with working moms, you can't have eyes everywhere.
Yeah.
What kind of role did she play in that, and kind of keeping you out of that?
Well, I mean, she would always tell me, I mean, look, stay away from this. You know what I mean? I can't say that she would always tell me. Even when I got in trouble later on, I had to apologize to my mother because I didn't listen. But she definitely told me, I had times where, people who were hustling, they was offering me cars and BMWs, and she was like, look, get away from my son. She would tell me, look, get in the house, stay away from them. You know what I mean? So she was never in the streets or anything of that nature. She come from the hood, but she was never out there. Um, but she definitely would always tell me, what I mean, stay away from these things, continue, to get your education and stay focused. You know what I mean? So, I would hear, what I mean, I would listen to some of it, but like I said, I had my own I made my own decisions, and but she definitely she definitely would tell me what to do what was right.
Okay. I want to ask now, as a child, you're in the streets, guns, hustling, basketball star, trying to keep up, grades slipping. What is the next tragic event that happens from your decisions and choices in the street?
Um, the next tragic thing that happened, I got hurt when I was in the 12th grade year. Um, so I had messed my knee up, so I was out. I played half of the season, and the next year, the next year, half of the season I was hurt. So that was a traumatic experience. As I look back, I was like, man, I was depressed. I didn't even know it, because I couldn't play basketball. I had a straight cast on, and I was out for the rest of the season. So that was really took me like 2 years to really start back running, and so that was really dramatic. So I really started really hanging out, especially after graduating. I really started to really go full fledged though, So and that was a tragic, that really threw me into a whole nother different era. And so I started really being in the streets. I started really being out, hanging out weeks at a time, and got into the club business. You know, really started to make money. Um, Me and my crew, we started to really get into some other things that was, um, it was always about money. So, but I really started to get really deeper, and I've been in all types of situations, shootouts. It just started to really, really get out of hand.
Now, used to be that even the street cats, if they saw, you had talent or a way out, they wouldn't really want you around things. So were the people around you, trying to get you away from that or trying to like pull you in? What was the dynamic there with, people that knew your actual potential?
I still would once I start. Well, that's a good question. I wouldn't say they was really trying to pull me in because they knew that I was, really playing the basketball. But they didn't really try to stop me as much because of really what they was doing as well. Um, and then in my neighborhood, as I was growing up, I always was a leader. I started stepping up and started really running the neighborhood. So now I'm in charge of the neighborhood. So they didn't really, I can't really, they really pulled me to the side and said, look, man, you need to stop this. You know what I mean? Look, go this way. You know what I mean? They was just, they was doing what they needed to do. And they really didn't take that action. That's something that I do now. I'm actively talking to the youth or to my cousins. I'm specifically telling them, coming to get them and say, look, come here for a minute. Don't do this. You know what I mean? So they didn't really do that in my life. But they recognized that I had this talent though, and I was gifted in it. You know what I mean? So that's mine.
Do you think the influence of the streets and the people that lead those areas can be a greater impact to the youth that are thinking about making the wrong decisions and choices in the streets? Do you think those that are leading the streets can be a change to the younger ones that are growing up?
Yes, absolutely. Um, Definitely, because they see them every day. They have influence with them every day. Proximity is very important. Them seeing them every day and the children are really looking up to them. They do have that influence. They do have that responsibility. And if more people, more men and women, because women have influence as well, if they step up to really, tell the children, you're not going to save all of them, but they are those that will listen. You know what I mean? And that's what I, really dedicated my life to really doing. I had a young man call me the other day. One of my young men, one of my other young men just got shot. He got killed last year, and he called me the other day. I was at work FaceTime me, and he had a stack of money on his shoulder like this, and I was just like, God, man. And I was just talking to him, and he was like, man, I want to get out of this. But I always answer his call, rather he called me at 3 a.m, because I don't want to see him dead. Some of them not going to make it out. So that's one of the things that I do now, because I experienced this, been to prison. I already know about all this. So, it's my calling, not only to preach the word, but also to, share my testimony and to go out and really make an impact on the youth. What I do is I try to get them when they're real younger. You know what I mean? Like I have these youngins around here. They 8, they 9. This is the time where we really need to get them, because this is when they're really being shaped though. Especially with all the social media and all the different things that they have now. I didn't have that growing up. We had the real interaction. We seen it. We didn't watch it on TV. We were out there um, with the people who were doing it. We seen it right in front of our eyes. But yeah, we have this influence. What I mean? Same with myself. I had this influence, and God has given me this responsibility um, to share this and the things that I learned, so they don't have to walk down or go through the same things that I went through.
When and if was there like a defining moment where you knew that this was the direction you wanted to take, or that you wanted to kind of make a life mission on, just advising the youth and people that you can influence, to do better, to be better. Was there like kind of an aha moment for you, or did was it kind of like a slow burn type of situation?
So, I was, hanging out, club business, and doing all these different things, was getting into little situations. And so, I needed a change in speed at one time. My mother asked me one time, because I wasn't playing ball at the time. And she was like, why you don't try to join the army? So I was like, I listened to her, and I wasn't even listening to it at the moment. So long story short, I say months later, I joined the military, and in 2001, I had already signed up before the 9/11, and it's so amazing. But God was already calling me then. So when I went to the military, I started really start picking up the word and really gave my life to the Lord. But I was still immature, still young in the faith. And I remember a chaplain called me to the office, and he called me to the office. When I came to the office, I came in, I was like, oh. He was like, no, Robert, everything's good. Because usually when the chaplain call you, someone died in your family, And he was like, yeah, I want to talk to you. I said, all right. I sat down. He said, man, he asked me, he said, have you ever thought about being a chaplain? I was shocked. When I was 19 years old, I was just like shocked. I was like, what? You know what I mean? I was like, why did you ask me that I want to be a chaplain? He said, I noticed that everybody follow you, and since you've been coming to service, all the other people have been coming. And I couldn't see it at the time. I wasn't paying attention. I already knew that I was a leader, but I wasn't focused on trying to really lead anybody, you know what I mean? And once once I came back home, I got out in 2004 and I came back home. I got back into club and doing the different things. And then I caught this charge. God brought that back to my remembrance. And it's just amazing, you know, how he really got my attention. And then I really started to surrender my life and I really started following the Lord. And then the people just started following me again. So I would say it really took me going to prison to really be able to, like, God to really stop me in my tracks. You know what I mean? And it's like the light went on. It's like the light, you know, people say they had that aha moment. It was like that. It was like the light went on because, you know, I think I needed to be stopped. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it really would have got my attention. But that's when I recognized it, and then I really seen, you know, when they say hindsight is 2020. When I started to look back over my life, I started to see that God was putting me in these places to really lead and to really do this work. And that's really how it happened. The short version of it, but that's really how it happened.
Now, I heard you say that you went to prison. Can you tell us why you went to prison and how much time did you do?
So in 2004, I had a murder case. Um, I was sentenced. I was facing double life plus 40. And I was sentenced to 95 years in 2005 after being locked up for a year. And at 22, I had just turned 22. At 22 years old, I was sentenced to 95 years. And that's what um, really got my attention. Um, it wasn't even the prison, but just to know um, that was really a death sentence. You know, if I didn't give the time back or get out, um, and just seeing your release date being 2099 was just like, it was just mind boggling, you know. So, yes, ma'am.
And what, um, were you kind of playing it the way you were thinking it, or where did you have your game face? Like what, was the emotion as you were facing this? And did you wear that on your sleeve, or did you kind of hold it in? Were you mentally prepared to do?
I mean, I've been through all types of situations in my life, but I don't really think you can really prepare for 95 years in prison. You know what I mean? From my perspective, you know, I was just talking to one of my brothers, man. He just got out. He had life in prison because I oversee 5 transitional homes, and man was talking, and I we was just talking about how when we got sentenced, you know, it's just how you're just stunned though. You're like in a daze, and so really the whole time it was basically in survival mode. Because you're not really, everything's happening so fast. You're just like, look, is, you know, you have to do what you got to do to survive this. So I would say the things I went through in my life prepared me, but I wasn't like, you know, like, oh man, I'm preparing for prison. You know what I mean? I want to say, I tell people all the time that prison was not on my bucket list. I was not thinking about prison. that was not something that I was looking forward to. Um, but I would say that I handled it well. Um, I didn't cry the whole time, or I didn't call home crying. And my life I always take accountability for anything that I do. Um, you know, it's just things that you just have to do. It's no point of crying about it. My point was, man, how do I change my life, and then how do I get out? How do I get out of here? That's the next step. How do I get out of here?
When you got locked up and your dad found out, what was the emotions running through him? Because he tried to protect you to keep you away.
Yeah, I think that was that was the most thing, just to see. It was not just my father, my mother as well, just to see the pain on their face, to know that, man, I'm facing life in prison. You know what I mean? And it was just a devastating situation. I don't think no parent or family is prepared for that to happen. Um, but I can say that he told me about certain things. He always sat me down. He always sat me down in the kitchen before I'm getting ready to go out. It will always be before I'm getting ready to go out. We said, "Hold on for a minute, sit down for a minute." And because he already knew. And I think his fear was more that I might get killed out here. Um, but I would say, man, that was devastating for him, though, as he shared with me. But it was devastating for my family, my sisters as well. And that was really the turning point of, because my father always told me, he said, man, what you do does not just affect you, it affects everyone that is connected to you. And when you're younger, you don't pay it no mind. But when I experienced this, I really seen the devastation of how it affected other people, whether it was my friends or whether it was people who looked up to me I didn't even know, and how it impacted their lives, though. And I was like, man, I had to sit down and look myself in the mirror and say, man, I gotta change my life. I say that to my own self, man. I gotta change my life today. And I started my journey.
And what was the scenario around, the pretty much everything coming to completion? How were you able to um, get out of that, get out in general? What was the outcome of the case? And what was the emotion in that moment?
Mm,
Like what was going through your brain, your mind, your body, soul, spirit? Just what
mhm.
was going on?
That was a good question. So just my journey in prison, coming in at 22, prison was different. I was in maximum security. Then they sent me to Ultramax in Cumberland. Um, I was just on my journey. I was on my journey, growing, learning, developing as a man. Um, Started leading in churches. Um, at the height, I had about 200 and something people. Um, and then I was really maturing. God was really blessing me. I was studying, got a degree in theology. Was really focused. Stayed out of trouble. Did a lot of great things in prison. Helped a lot of people. Stopped a lot of violence, because when I was in, it was a lot of violence. A lot of people got killed while I was in. Um, and that was just my journey. I had appeals. My folks would help me. I would file for appeal. They would shoot it down, and I would just keep filing for appeals. And but God was always showing me in visions and dreams that I was getting out. And I believed I would let my folks know, like even when they denied the appeal, I said, man, God gonna deliver me. My mother, even recently, my mother and father said, man, we thought you was crazy. We thought you was, when you kept saying God was going to deliver you, we was like, man, my mother said, this man got 95 years. I said, but mom, I believe though, and what he said. So in 2023, I got my last appeal and the Supreme Court shot it down. It was my last. I exhausted all of my remedies, exhausted everything. I had nothing else, which meant that I was going to die in prison. And my mother was like, "You so calm." I was like, "Mom, God told me that He was going to deliver me. So I don't know how He was going to do it. He didn't tell me how He was going to do it, but He said He was going to do it." So I can never forget this. January the 10th, I had a vision, had a dream, and they was calling me. They was like, hey, come. Lieutenant was calling me in a dream. Get your stuff, man. Pack up. And I was like, I got my stuff. And so I worked out on the 10. 4 days later, I came out to do the ice, and a man handed me a note. And I looked at him. His name is BY. We call him Big Young. And he handed it to me. I said, man, I don't take kites. I don't take notes from nobody because I don't know what's in it. I don't pass them. Everybody know in the prison that I don't conduct myself that way. And he said, no, it's from a brother that's on another tier. I said, well, all right. He said, no, he told me give this to you. So I said, all right, I took it. Later on, I went in my cell. I opened it up. It was one of my brothers I haven't seen him in 9 years. He was one of my pastors that was under me while I was in. And he was at home. I lost contact with him for 9 years. He's one of my great friends. And the guy that wrote me the letter said, man, he wants you to call him. And so I called him. And we had tablets in the cell at this time. I called him. And he picked up. He was like, oh, man, I wanted to just talk to you. I don't have a whole lot of time. I've been out. And he had double life plus 60. And he was already home. God had already delivered him. And he said, man, I want to get you into this program. I want to get you into the reentry program. He said, but I want to get your permission. I told him, I said, you don't have to get, and I told him the dream that I had, but I said, you don't have to get my permission to get me out. You know what I mean? I said, go ahead. You know what I mean? And he started to do it. He called my family and the ball got going. And so I got out through, of course, I had to go through the process of interviewing and all the different things, but I got out through the reentry program in Prince George's County. It's a wonderful program. I went through all the different stages, and that's how I got out. That's how God delivered me. Just getting out that day. I can't even explain to you that. Just to walk on the street though, just to ride to get out. It was just like, it was amazing. You know what I mean? Because I was up in the mountains for 16 years. I was in Jessup for 4 years, but I was in the mountains for 16 years in Cumberland. And I didn't see no cars. Only thing I seen was mountains and concrete and gates. And just the experience that I can't even tell you that feeling, how it felt. But I was getting out, all the men was hollering, and it was a lot of emotions. I was just grateful. I was thankful because a lot of men that I know, they didn't make it out, and some of them are not going to make it out. And I talk to them all the time, and a lot of them are coming out now. But I was just grateful just to have a second chance on life. And I said, man, I'm going to take full advantage of this chance. So, yeah, I was just grateful though. I was just grateful to be out. Trust me, I was grateful. Trust me.
You on mute.
You on mute.
You on mute, Dimitri.
Look, I done gave a whole spur.
Yeah,
Um,
go ahead. Say it
yeah, I
again.
want to thank you. I was like, look at God, the way that He works. No one can tell you anything. That just teared me up a little bit because you could feel your humbleness. Um, this hour has went by fast. We are almost at time. In closing, I want to ask this question a little differently. My last one is, um, how did you look at the streets once you were behind bars, and what would you tell closing out for the youngins now from your personal life experience being a male role model? What would you tell the youngins that are in the streets and just lost? What would you tell them to change their lives? So the first part is how did you look at the streets once you were behind the bars, and what would you tell the youngins from your personal life experience to make different decisions and choices?
Yeah, thank you. That was a great question because that was the first thing that once I got in prison, you know, tell you the truth, I really just hated the street life. And I told all the men that I was in, I said, man, I don't care nothing about that street life. I don't care nothing about that cold. I don't care nothing about none of that stuff. That stuff was a deception. It was a trick of the enemy to deceive us. So I felt deceived though, that I deceived my own self from listening to these things and growing up listening to all this foolish music and thinking this is the right way to go. So I hate it. I despise the life. I despise drugs. I didn't even touch drugs while I was in prison. Even when people were offering me things when I first started, you know, to sell drugs in prison and all these different things. But I really hated it because, when you get in prison, all those people that's talking about they love you, all your homies and all the people that had your back, they ain't gonna have your back. They're not gonna send you no money. They're not gonna send you no letters. It's gonna be very few that really stand by you. Most likely your parents. And so I really hated that. Um, and I said I'm gonna do everything I can do to change the narrative and give the youngest this understanding. Um, I was just at a cookout Wednesday, and I was sharing with some youngins. So this what I would tell, and I was telling them like I tell my story, and they like, man, 95 years, and I tell them, man, listen, go to school, chase your dreams, live right, follow God. Keep God in your life. Keep Him first. You're going to need Him. He's going to be the first thing that you need in your life. Stay away from the streets. I tell them once the judicial system gets you, man, it's hard for you to get out. It is easy for you to get in, but it's hard for you to get out. I don't care how much money you got. It's designed to keep you in. And I tell them that, look, you don't have to live this way. You don't have to carry around. You don't have to carry guns. You don't have to sell drugs. You can open up a business. You can chase your dream. You can use your talents. You know what I mean? And I really tell them, I tell it to them raw because they don't need no sugarcoat. They don't need nobody sugarcoating it because it's real life. And so that's my message to them. And I use my testimony that I've been through this. A lot of them never been through this. And I tell them, man, when you go to prison, it's a whole different world in prison. You're going to have to be a man in prison. This is going to be totally different. But I tell them that they don't have to live that way, man. They can enjoy their life. A lot of them listen to me. A lot of them had went on and went other ways, been police officers, done different things, went to the military, got married, changed their life. So I see the impact that they do understand that I already been through this. And I tell them, man, you do not want this in your life. I promise you, you do not want this in your life. So that's my message to the youth. That's my message to them, to tell them, listen, learn from our mistakes. Man, I spent 20 years straight, this is the first charge ever, not went home and kept coming back. One time, did 20 years, got locked up. I was 20, I got sentenced when I was 22, got out when I was 42. I mean, so, you know what I mean? Of course, God used it to, to work these things out for his glory, but he didn't have prison for me. You know what I mean? So he allowed me to suffer my consequences. But I tell them, you don't have to go through this. Just learn from us.
Absolutely. And we do want to give you the chance to participate in what we call shameless plug. So you do see all of your information scrolling across the bottom here. If you can let our viewers know if they have resonated with your story in any way, how they can reach out, if they can reach out, what services you may provide, what resources you may have, anything that you have for sale personally, any projects or organizations you advocate for, anything that you want to tell our viewers, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you too. And first of all, thank y'all for allowing me to be on here to share my story. Um, I take it as an honor to even be able to share my story. But you can reach me at Bishop Head Jr. on all platforms. Also have a ministry. My ministry is called Washing the Blood of the Lamb Ministries. Um, I speak at churches. I preach all over different places. Also a peer coach as well. Work with In the Gap Academy, helping people that's suffering from substance abuse, helping them get their life back on track. So you can reach out to me if you need mentoring, you need people, you need me to come and help your youth, um, help your churches. Also, I build churches and build ministries as well, um, and help pastors and help families. And so I do a lot of different things as well. So if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at Bishop Head Jr. on all the platforms. So thank you.
Thank you. Really quick as we wrap up, I want to say this because a lot of stuff we do not put on social media platforms, TikTok. Bishop and I actually partner together, and we have served the community with the good fight.
Yes.
And Bishop brings a lot of folks, rehabilitation, returning citizens to the good fight. We donate clothing, shoes, and it's done some amazing things. And this is stuff that we do not post, people do not see all of the effort and what we're doing. And a part of Unfiltered Unspoken podcast is to share these life experiences of people changing, and our testimonies and traumas, and sharing this has helped so many. And we've created a dynamics in the community that is sometimes devalued, that
Yes.
people overlook, and that really needs support. So, as you heard Bishop mention, please support his cause, support the good fight. I had put a donate to our cause up here because we are doing some amazing things in the community, and we will continue. Life traumas are real, and
Yes.
traumas affects our abilities to move on. So we want to thank everyone that has supported Unfiltered Unspoken podcast. Sid, thank you so much. I love you. He's been doing this since day one. I get a little emotional on this podcast because um, you're doing an amazing thing, Bishop. So keep doing what you're doing, and make sure you tune in each and every Monday. The Unfiltered Unspoken podcast, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Am I missing some? Is that TikTok? So yeah, make sure you tune in and support what we're doing. This is a resource base to help those that are trying to find a way to navigate through starting their life journey. These are tips and tools that'll help you from personal life experience. We're not psychologists, we're not therapists. And Sid, we're gonna keep sharing life experiences. Ain't that right?
That's
Yep.
right.
Bishop, thank you for being a guest on Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast. We truly appreciate it. It is an honor to have you.
I wanna also thank you as well. As you said, you this is how we met. We met through a mutual uh, friend, Tony.
Tony Wolf, shout out to Fresh, a nonprofit organization as well. We are all combined. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you're right. And I seen the work that you was doing because he told me. I was like, okay. And I went to bring some of our clients that we had people come in from substance abuse that don't have any clothes or any clothing at all. And I want to say the work that you are doing, you have provided these things to them multiple times, free at call, free, and just the hospitality that you show to them and the love. I can see that it's really impacting their life and really changing their life when they come back with clothes. Because just having the necessities and needs, give people confidence. Like you have on your thing, Miss Confidence. It gives them confidence when they got shoes, when they got clothes. So I want to say to everyone that is here or is watching, support Miss Demetria and her cause. Donate. Donate your money to this cause because it really helps people's lives. And like you said, people don't see the work because it's not glamorous. It's not valued. You know what I mean? It's not something that is, but they don't know that it's hard work. And so I know that you really put a lot of hard work in this, helping people. You know what I mean? Even when I get off this podcast, I'm getting ready to take some clients to uh, a sober club in Annapolis. So it's definitely hard work. I want to just encourage you, continue to follow your purpose, continue to uh, do what God called you to do. He's already given you the grace. He's already given you the provision. Just continue to trust Him in this process. I know it gets tough, but He with you though. You know what I mean? And you are making great impact on people's lives, even if you don't see the fruit right away. I seen you. I came in there and I seen you was in there doing financial literacy with the children. You know what I mean? I was like, dang. You know what I mean? These they don't even do that at school. They don't even teach the kids no. Am I right saying they don't even teach the kids about money? That's gonna be the most important thing you're gonna deal with every day. You ain't gonna need trigonometry as much. You're gonna need to know how to count that money and budget your bank. You know what I mean? So I seen how this impact that you have, and I pray that God continue to bless you abundantly in your endeavors.
Thank you. The kids are our future, and we are doing some amazing work to get them to make the right decisions and choices. And we have chosen to be authentically honest with them and to give it to them real. And not only just the youth, the parents as well. Parents are inflicting their traumas on their kids, which is
Yes.
making it harder for the youth. So this is something that we work with every day. We invest a lot of time, our personal money, the struggle. Even when we want to give up, we know we can't financially because God has a calling. And as we continue to do great work and platforms like this, we will continue to put the message out there. Um, yeah,
And thank you, Miss Said. Thank you for getting up early. Uh, we up early.
I'm not up no earlier than I would have been. It's okay. It's
Oh,
all
okay.
right.
Thank you too. I don't know everything that you do, but I know you working behind the scenes. You got to have a partner in this. So I know. Thank you for the work that you do as well.
Not nearly as much as my girl, but whenever she asks, I am here.
Yes, I love Sid. That's my sister, and this is getting emotional episode. We supposed to be in, but we about to wrap it up. But I love Sid. I have to give her flowers because Sid didn't know me. Sid didn't know me, and it started with a State Farm call, and I ain't lying. And going on, and Sid believed in me since day one, since our first conversation, and it's it's not who it's who God introduces you to.
Absolutely.
And God introduced me to Sid. And me and Sid have been rocking for 3 years, coming up 4 years. And I love her. I will do anything for Sid. If I got it, she got it because she supported me when people turned their backs on me. So I love her. I love Sid. That is my little sister. I love her. And
Absolutely.
I give you your flowers, Sid, because
Absolutely.
we're doing some amazing work, and you are a part of this amazing work, and you play a big part in it because you didn't have to, and you dedicate your time, your hours. Sometimes I go over a little bit, but you dedicate your time. You don't have to, and I appreciate it so much. And once this takes off, I'm going to take care of you.
Absolutely.
On everything I love in life, I'm going to take care of you. I love you. Okay, this thing got emotional.
That was beautiful. That was authentic. That's what it's unfiltered. It's unfiltered.
It's unfiltered. Thank everyone for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken podcast again. We're going to keep sharing life experiences, and we're going to let God continue to drive this baby, because like, sharing, subscribing to any of our platforms is free. If any support that you can give, just like, share, subscribe, help us get our numbers up so that we can get this going, so we can invest in what we're doing and continue to support the communities. Because everybody is saying we don't have, but when we do have it, y'all don't support it. Like I said, clubs and partying brings trauma together. Donate a drink to our cause. Donate a drink. The money that you would spend on a drink, just donate one drink to us to help us keep going. Donate the drinks funds, because alcohol and drugs is poison in our communities, and it's keeping trauma and stuff going, and y'all don't even realize it. So support something wonderful, and we want to thank you for tuning in. Peace.
God bless you.
God bless. Stay on, Bishop.